Hi, my name is Jasper Kaplan and I am a filmmaker. Godzilla is the main reason why I got into filmmaking. The theme of the original Godzilla classic and behind the scenes of how they made the movie and just how badass he looks as a creature just made me so in love with filmmaking and just overall the character itself. Godzilla 1954 is the dark story of how Godzilla represented the horrors of nuclear warfare. Shin Godzilla represented the Fukushima nuclear disaster from 2011 and just the body horror of Godzilla. We followed the government trying to protect Japan and trying to handle the creature while the beast is evolving rapidly. I mean, I love how disgusting he is too. I mean, look at this little shit. He's disgusting. Heisei 2002 and the recent MonsterVerse movies are just my turn my brain off and have fun type of movies. Except King of the Monsters. I would rather fight -1 Godzilla with my bare fist than to watch that dog. But as a kid, Godzilla vs. Hedorah stood out the most to me because of how fucking weird that movie was. But it was mostly a story about the pollution of Earth. That's how Hedorah was created. The film made me care about the planet and I clean up trash in public whenever I can because of that movie. It has always been a dream of mine to make a Godzilla movie, but the chances of that are like little to zero. But a boy can dream, right? I wrote my own little story. It's nowhere near as good as -1. It would be a character-driven narrative where we would want to root for this family trying to survive the wrath and destruction of Godzilla. Think the impossible, the heart, San Andreas, the destruction, and Cloverfield, the horror, merge into one. My Godzilla would be like a sludge lizard abomination, like Shin Godzilla merged with Hedorah. I'm no artist, but this animator pretty much depicted my design to the core. We get no military shit at all. I want to follow this family who are trying to solve their personal issues and get caught up with Godzilla's mess. The way I wanted the film to end was to have everyone die. Pretty dark, pretty depressing, but unlike my story, the thing -1 had was hope. Godzilla -1 was a masterpiece in storytelling and filmmaking. There are a few nitpicks that I have, but I can 100% say with my whole chest that this is the best Godzilla movie ever made. Takashi Yamazaki is an award-winning filmmaker who made Always Sunset on 3rd Street, was the visual effects director for the new Godzilla ride in Japan, and the director, writer, and visual effects director of Godzilla -1. He had the script cooking for years but turned down the offer to make this movie because the technology wasn't up to his standards. That is pure dedication. And on top of that, the budget for this movie was $15 million. Comparing that to Hollywood and how we spend like $250 million on a movie, that's insane. I just realized this was not on correctly, so I apologize. Here's my wallpaper that I used Photoshop for. The writing was phenomenal. There are so many beautiful lines that just stood out to me, especially for the setting of the film. We follow the story of a runaway kamikaze pilot set in post-World War II. He faces guilt and depression for losing his comrades, his country, and his family. Then on top of that, Godzilla comes in to fuck shit up even more. Godzilla is fucking terrifying in this movie. I absolutely love his design. It's a mix of all my favorite Goji designs merged into one. And so all you collectors out there, you can thank me for this. I want you guys to comment down below what your favorite Godzilla design is. I'm still struggling, but I think for now -1 has to take the cake. It's between Shin and Minus right now. The fact that this Godzilla is the smallest one out of all the other iterations just makes him more terrifying, especially from the intro. Holy fuck. The smaller he is, the more grounded and personal he felt. His eyes are so full of anger and hatred, and it works because he literally represents war and nuclear power. His atomic breath is easily the most powerful one yet. His spikes rising as his atomic breath charges reminds me of a nuclear piston engine. It almost looks like it hurts, especially when he launches the attack and the aftermath. Oh my god. This Godzilla causes so much destruction. Like, dude, this shit wasn't even funny. That shit pissed me off. Like, what the hell did we do to piss you off, man? Like, relax. There was a moment where he killed everyone and he was all like, damn, I did all this. I hated him, but in a good way. Before I get into the story, I just want to say a huge round of applause for Naoki Sato. This is the first time I was moved to tears from a Godzilla movie because of the soundtrack. I think the most brilliant thing I caught was the track Resolution was the opposite to Godzilla's theme song, where Godzilla's theme song goes from And when the humans are planning to kill Godzilla, we get a hopeful version where we go up instead of going down. Divine is like Godzilla's theme, but descends lower and slower. Confusion is just so haunting, with the slow siren and Godzilla's pulse on repeat. It's nothing grand or explosive. It just feels like you're being watched by an entity. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you caught in the soundtrack. Music is such a huge part of my life, and as a filmmaker, music makes a huge difference. I have most of the soundtrack in my personal Spotify playlist. I mean, hey, if y'all are interested, link in the bio. Usually with the classic Godzilla films, we follow the government or someone who is affiliated to the government trying to stop Godzilla. We've had some family stories done before, but they just never landed emotionally for me to care. Shikishima is one of the best written characters in Godzilla history. This is the first time where I was watching a Godzilla film and I forgot that he was even in it because I was so invested with the story. I felt so much heartache for Shikishima that I saw myself in him. Granted, I never fought in World War II or was a kamikaze pilot who abandoned his mission, but I'm sure we all felt what he felt. Guilt, regret, and pain. Throughout the film, he's trying his best to continue living on, but he feels like he owes the dead. He can't even differentiate what is real or not, and it is heartbreaking. Noriko and Akigo are the light of his life, but he believes he doesn't deserve them when he truly does. He's haunted by the ghost of his comrades, nightmares every single night, and their photos shame him when they get the chance. He is broken. Noriko is practically the love interest, but unlike Shikishima, she represents hope and life. During the air raid, she adopts a child named Akigo as a dying mother's wish. She does things on her own terms and has an open, loving heart. She's not perfect, but she tries. There wasn't a single dull character in this film. I mean it when I was rooting for the humans. I damn near stood up and cheered when they successfully killed Godzilla. The crew from the boat had so much life and enough humor to lighten up this depressing film. The chemistry between Yoji and Shiro were like watching two brothers bicker, and seeing Yoji forcing Shiro to stay behind to give him the future was beautifully painful. Japan is at its lowest, but the best everyone can do is love each other. It's what they have left, really, and it's the most powerful thing. I also love how Yoji even recognizes the flaws of the Japanese government. This country won't change, perhaps it can't, is the most depressing line ever. Especially to find out that the government won't even help out to kill Godzilla in the third act of the film. It has always been a trope to have the people unite to defeat Godzilla, but this one felt so personal. Japan already lost everything. The government wasn't even involved in the third act of the film. It was the people who rose up to defeat Godzilla, ex-military and civilians. Everyone who survived the war kept going because doing nothing won't cause a miracle. Shikishima had a beautiful character arc. I love the parallel where in the beginning of the film he landed his plane as a coward. Then in the final act he took off in his plane again, but as a hero. He's trying his best to live life again and feel alive, but the moment he finally opens up to Noriko and put the dead to rest, Godzilla kills the person who he loves and decimates Ginzo. When I witnessed my dog die from a hit and run, I remember the vivid moment of me screaming in so much pain and disbelief when I held his corpse in my hands. The scene where Shikishima just screams in agony really hit me, man. That was genuine pain I felt, especially when he was ready to be alive again. He says to himself, "It's my fault for thinking I could dream again." Fuck, man. There's this fan art out there, and I know this is like a meme, but this makes me sad, man. Oh god. Even when told the plan to kill Godzilla, he wasn't even optimistic or anything, and respectfully so. He's ready to throw his life away to get revenge for Noriko and his dead comrades. And I love how everyone was telling him to stay alive for Akiko, because in the end, it paid off. Shikishima successfully takes down Godzilla and returns home to see everyone embracing him with open arms and Noriko alive. The family is finally back together and his war is over. This is a beautifully written film with layers upon layers, and on top of that, a spectacle. Usually I would want Noriko to be actually dead, but I didn't even care because I just wanted Shikishima to be happy, man. He deserves it all. The only few nitpicks I have with this film, Shikishima literally passes out 3 times. It's not anything that butchers the film for me, I just thought it was funny. I get the homage to the classic Godzilla 1954 biting the train, and the scene was epic as shit. But why did he choose that specific train? Like, wait, that train did nothing to him. And I guess I sort of wish Godzilla stayed dead. This movie could have been a perfect standalone film. I don't remember if Toho wants to make this like a franchise, like a series, but I don't know. We'll see. But hey, I got the GMK reference. I never knew that I would find such a huge part of myself in this film. I mean, the first feature film script I'm writing right now is about regrets and guilt because it's personal to me. Like I said, I wouldn't compare myself to a kamikaze pilot or someone who survived the war, but I genuinely feel a lot of regret and guilt in my life. I am 21 years old, but growing up, I messed up a lot. I grew up with an abusive stepfather who affected my growth. I ruined friendships and relationships and carried this burden that it was my fault for someone's passing. On top of that, I suffer imposter syndrome. I feel like whatever I do, no matter what, I am never doing good enough. That I don't deserve the love that I receive. I've gotten better and I know I've grown as a person and I'm nothing to who I was before. But I know so many of you out there who are fighting their own personal flaws and inner conflicts. Although you're not fighting Godzilla or survived World War II, but you are enough. You deserve all the love and support that you receive, and eventually, your war will be over.